player you see here is the #1 female tennis player of today, Serena Williams. She has won multiple Grand Slams and is widely known as the face of women's tennis today. You would not see her or any African American player captivating fans and dominating the court around the world if it wasn't for the pioneer who shattered the color barrier. Althea Gibson. Today, I ask what the impact of Althea Gibson breaking the color barrier in tennis for African Americans is. Althea Gibson getting the chance to play and winning a Grand Slam paved the way for future colored athletes to succeed and be respected in the sport, as it was the first big breakthrough where fans, media, and the government supported them. To further understand this information, we need to take a look back to where it all started for the upcoming tennis prodigy. Althea Gibson was born in Silver, South Carolina on August 25th, 1927. She was raised in Harlem, New York. She struggled a lot in her early years, mainly due to discrimination. She wasn't a perfect child either. She had a hard time learning in the classroom and used to skip school. Her family was a part of the Great Migration, which involved the moving of over 6 million African Americans from the South to the urban areas in the northeastern hemisphere of the United States. There was a small police athletic league near her house only for African American children, mainly to guide children on a safe path, make them strong, and keep them away from harmful illegal substances that were easily obtainable at the time. Gibson began to play paddleball, a sport derived from tennis, where she grew proficient at it. She grew on to be the New York City paddleball champion in the women's division after a lot of practice. She dropped out of school at the age of 13 with no idea what to do in her life, growing a hatred of her classes. Her first exposure to tennis began when her neighbors decided to start memberships and lessons for their area where members of the African American community could play. Ironically, Gibson did not like the sport and even had anger issues over the game when she joined the Cosmopolitan Tennis Club. She started off playing on the streets. She joined the largest African American tennis organization that still runs today, called the ATA. In 1941, Gibson joined her first ever tennis tournament. This was the National ATA Girls Championship, and she won. She continued to win 10 straight titles in a row, starting from 1947. The USTLA, now the USTA, is the largest tennis association in America. The United States Lawn Tennis Association spotted a growing colored tennis player. Never before had a skilled colored player like Gibson been allowed to play in the USTLA. This was Gibson's first breakthrough of the color barrier. She, however, was unable to play in the United States National Championships, which is now the US Open. The USTA rules clearly stated that there will be no discrimination related to an athlete's race or ethnicity. The rules did say that one needed to accumulate points at clubs and other events. However, access to these was only available to white people. This literally left her no way to be able to participate in the US Open, all due to the civil rights discrimination she was facing due to being trapped by color barriers. Everything changed for her when one very influential player interfered at the time. Her name is Alicia Marble. She was a highly respected female tennis player who had won multiple Grand Slam titles. She saw the sheer talent Gibson possessed. She wrote a column in the official USTA magazine on June 1st of 1950. It followed, "Miss Gibson is over a very cunningly wrought barrel, and I can only hope to loosen a few of its staves with one lone opinion. If tennis is a game for ladies and gentlemen, it's also time we acted a little more like gentle people and less like sanctimonious hypocrites. If she can do it, a proud new chapter will have been added to the history of tennis. But if she has refused a chance to succeed or fail, then there's an ineradicable mark against the game to which I've devoted most of my life, and I would be bitterly ashamed." It was the first time Althea Gibson had this much attention from the media. This sparked her professional tennis career. Althea Gibson was the first African American to step foot on the U.S. national tournament courts after she received her invitation. She was even compared to Jackie Robinson in his journey to step out on the baseball field. She didn't win the championships, but in 1951, she was the winner of the Caribbean Championships. She soon got access to Wimbledon, the most prestigious tennis tournament in the world, and it still is to this date. One more year passed and she was ranked top 10 in the whole U.S. Her progress kept ramping up and more fans joined her journey. The media started to focus on her in a positive way. She won her first Grand Slam tournament in 1956 and was the first African American to do so. After the French Open came the Wimbledon. She had done so well that she had gotten the trophy handed to her by Queen Elizabeth II. She won the US Open, then the Australian Open in 1958, she was ranked the number one female tennis player in the whole world. The stands for all of her matches were packed. She was receiving praise from everyone. She had absolutely broken the color barrier, gaining respect from all African American tennis players. This allowed them all into the sport, as people knew there was bound to be more talent. Gibson was named Female Athlete of the Year and was the first African American woman to be on the cover page of the famous sports magazine Sports Illustrated. She was even featured on the cover page of Time magazine. Gibson wrote her autobiography in 1960. It went through her journey to become who she was. Her legendary career soon led to her being inducted into the Tennis Hall of Fame. This increased her recognition and impacted future players, as there were now future African American spots to be filled in the Hall of Fame as well. Althea did not protest for civil rights. However, she was a really influential activist. Instead of protesting through words and speeches, she actually protested through her sheer talent, breaking every barrier along the way, breaking records, leading more African American athletes to follow behind her. While the U.S. government did not directly support her, there were many indirect actions they took that benefited her. They provided tennis court access to more African American people so they could play. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, which meant all discrimination was prohibited, allowing African Americans to live in equality. Althea received these essential benefits in correlation to the act, such as being able to play in any club she wants. The activists and the athletes at the time were the sole reason this change occurred, and they were the ones who fought for it. Today, Serena Williams is widely known as the best female tennis player in the world. She claims her role model is Althea Gibson. In 1999, she faxed Gibson a couple questions. She continued to win her first Grand Slam right after that fax was sent. The legacy Althea Gibson left behind has completely changed the way tennis is played today. She was the winner that opened up all leagues for all races, crushed racism inside of the sport, and especially gathered respect for herself and future colored athletes to come. She opened up the path for all players to enjoy the sport of tennis.